Hello everybody and welcome into another week of OP Racing's ButtKicker Grand National Series, making a stop here tonight at Legacy Daytona International Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, last week was a big race. It was an elimination race. We saw 8 drivers and their chance for a championship come to an end. Tonight we kick off the round of 8, which will consist of 2 races. After it's all said and done, we'll kick out another 4 drivers before we move on to our championship event. So before we get any further into the drivers that advance to the round of 8, let's take a look at tonight's starting grid. How about sitting on the pole? It's going to be the 25 machine of Kevin Fries. To his outside, it'll be Zach Fritsch in second. Eric Laurie starts back in third with Sean Stevens to his outside in fourth. Then it's going to be John Guerra, the Canadian driver in the field. He starts back in fifth. Anthony English in sixth. You've got Andy Brigante back in seventh with Nathan Warren in eighth. Jeff Crosby Jr. in ninth, and Dave Hunt rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6, it's Vicente Guerrero alongside Adam Kilday. Back in row 7, it's going to be Bubba Winningham in the 66 with David Booth to his outside in the 77. Derek Donna, he'll start back in the 15th spot here tonight with Gabe Butler to his outside in 16th. Back in row 9, it's going to be Shane Ward, another one of the Canadian drivers alongside Josh Giambrone. And you've got Rick Sanchez back in 19th with Jimmy Reynolds rounding out your top 20. Starting in the 21st spot here tonight, it's going to be Len McNeese, Douglas Johnson, his outside in 22nd. And you've got Andrew Schroeder rounding out the field. He will start in 23rd here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, it's the AE 175 tonight's action. Tonight's race in general, sponsored by Anthony English, of course, one of your playoff drivers that did advance to the round of 8. But looking at the distance we're going to run here tonight, 70 laps with a stage break at lap 35. 45% fuel, unlimited tires. Of course, you do have that one fast pair in your pocket if you need it. And don't forget, fixed setups as always, and 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Weather outside, 65 degrees, 20% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds at 5 miles an hour. Daytona International Speedway. Not a lot of things different from this one to the old one, from this one to the new one in terms of length. The biggest difference is just the surface and how rough this track is. Again, 2.5 miles in length, over 30 degrees of banking in the corners. But we said we're at Legacy Daytona. That means this track is a lot bumpier than the new one that we're used to seeing. 72 degrees, by the way, going to be the starting track temp. Should help out with grip a little bit. But again, these guys are going to have their hands full with all the bumps, especially as you work through the 30-plus degrees of banking in the corners. All right, we'll take a look at the scoring tower there on the left of your screen. That's going to highlight the drivers that are still in the fight for a championship, the drivers that did indeed advance themselves onto the round of 8. We'll have 2 races in this round tonight and then 1 next week before we'll eliminate 4 more to move on to your championship 4. And that will, of course, be a 1-race finale. The highest finishing of the championship 4 will be your season champion. Zach Fritsch, Eric Laurie, the 2 highest running playoff drivers on the starting grid here for the field tonight. Fritsch on the outside of the front row, Eric Laurie on the inside of the second row. Pace truck's going to pull off. Here we go. Let's kick off the round of 8. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Daytona. Good restart as the entire field now tries to work up to full pace as they work through 1 and 2 for the first time here tonight. Zach Fritsch on the outside already starting to get a little bit of momentum going. Pushing on that outside, that's the 27 machine of Sean Stevens. And we've already got 1 truck that has bailed off to the bottom, I believe. It might have been Andy Brigante. No, I take that back. That's actually a little bit further back. Right around, looks like that was the 33, I believe, of Jeff Crosby Jr. Again, another one of the drivers that is still running for a championship. The 33 was able to advance. Jeff Crosby Sr. was not. But we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But I think Crosby may be kind of wanting to see how the aggression is going to pan out here in these first couple laps, these first opening laps, as we don't really know what to expect here. Last race that we saw at this track was in the Xfinity cars, but the trucks, you got to beg, are going to drive a pretty good amount different. And again, the trucks are a little bit faster since they were last updated. And so that's going to, of course, play a factor in the way that they handle here tonight as well. Let's hop on board early here with Zach Fritsch, the number 12 machine. And here we go as they rocket down the super stretch. Watch that top speed that he gets up to. In fact, we'll actually jump a lane to the outside here We'll hop on board with Sean Stevens as he's going to top out at just a couple miles an hour, 195, as they worked off towards turn number 3. And again, that's with kind of just everybody being nice to each other right now, but when push comes to shove later, we'll see those speeds continue to increase throughout the entirety of the night. Anthony English now going to poke a nose out in front. That is one of your round of 8 drivers. And by the way, you might notice on some of these driver cards, we did leave for the drivers who did not advance to the round of 8 but made it to the round of 16. We still left that in the driver info. So for example here, I think the best way to kind of show you this is use a driver as an example. Bubba Winningham, who currently sits back in 14th. He was one of the drivers who made a berth in the playoffs, but just couldn't quite advance to the round of 8 after a rough week last week. So you can see it there. It says round of 16, but you notice he is not highlighted on the scoring tower, as that is, of course, the round in which he was eliminated in. Still 2x2, 3.5, just about 3 3/4 of a lap complete, as they're going to work towards the line here. This will now be 4 laps complete. And we talk about green flag pit stops a lot, and these trucks can't stretch it quite as far as the Xfinity or the Gen 4 cars can. So looking at about probably, if I had to guess, somewhere around 45% fuel, should get these drivers to, I don't know, maybe somewhere right around 16 to 18 laps, I think would be my initial guess. I don't know if you can stretch it to 20. I think it's about anywhere between 32 to 35 on a full tank. So I'm thinking somewhere right around, we'll go ahead and be a little conservative here for the start and say anywhere between 14 to 18 laps worth of fuel, of course, depending on how much you're saving and, of course, where you're running at on track. But if you're up front, leading the pack, you're running the most throttle time, and you are saving the least amount of fuel. But maybe the safest place to be early on, though, I haven't really seen anybody try to get that third lane going, at least not as of yet. Everybody keeping things pretty conservative. So if you're up here at the front, all you got to really do is mind your P's and Q's. We go a little bit further back, though, as we'll hop back on the onboard view here for Bubba Winningham. He is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. There's a look at Bubba Winningham. And right now you can see, he's not even running that close to the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. He doesn't have a guy running right on his back bumper either. And you can see still just how much that truck wants to drift up the track. And, it's kind of interesting because we hear a couple drivers say, you kind of just got to let the car drive itself up those bumps. Logan York, when he won here just a few weeks ago, that's kind of the saying he had, just kind of let the car do its thing. Don't necessarily try to fight the bumps too much. I think that's what we're seeing a lot of right now for drivers that are up here at the front trying to get a feel for things. It's working out pretty good so far. No incidents, at least not as of yet. The other onboard view we got here tonight is for Derek Donna, the driver out of Jeffersonville. Again, one of the drivers who made it to the round of 16, but unfortunately not quite able to advance to the round of 8. But a good run so far this season from Derek Donna, and don't count him out to potentially steal at least one more win before the season is all said and done. How about Jimmy Reynolds? Got a win to open up, pushed Zach Fritsch to a win to open up the playoffs. That's what, of course, got Fritsch locked into this round here tonight, and he's open maybe for a little bit more of the same. And Zach Fritsch right now, he's got it going on. Continues to lead the pack. He's got him 2x2 and really doing a nice job controlling this 20-plus car pack. As they race off to the start-finish line, you notice there, English gets the run down the front stretch, and that's all he needs. He'll get clear thanks to the push from Nathan Warren. And so now you've got 3 of your round of 8 playoff drivers all sitting inside the top 5. Adam Kilday was just outside it, but he'll now just sneak back into it as they worked into turn number 1. And by the way, with that stage break on lap 35, relative to what we talked about for kind of how far they can make it on fuel, this is going to get interesting in terms of if these drivers can make it the entirety of a run here, because we said somewhere between 32 to 35 laps on a full fuel run. Well, you figure they've got less than half a fuel run worth of fuel in the tank. So at that point, if it's anything less, I just don't know if they're going to make this on a one-stop. This very well could be a two-stopper here in the first stage, and if that's the case, then that opens the door for some strategy play potentially for a couple of the drivers that are working together. And again, while there's not set teams, certainly drivers that work with each other each and every race. And I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty of that here tonight. 8 of 70 laps complete further back, mostly 2x2, a little bit of single file. And in fact, as it stands right now, looks like we've only had one truck that has had an issue, and that's Andrew Schroeder. As it stands at the moment, Andrew has lost touch with the lead pack, and he's going to need a caution. He's going to need one soon because those leaders are coming up on him pretty quickly here, and they will put that 48 truck a lap down. This is going to get a little dicey too. 3 wide here. Still tight, but the thing that makes it so much trickier than regular Daytona is how bumpy this surface is. Watch as the field works by him here. Let's see if they can sneak by clean. They caught him in kind of a good area here. The trial winds out just ever so slightly. And so it looks like they're going to be able to get around this 48 truck with no issue. As further back, you see the 39 of Shane Ward. He's going to go by. Another one of the playoff drivers that did not advance to the round of 8. Got eliminated last week at the end of the round of 16. Still looking to see if he can have a good run here tonight. And then the other thing to kind of notice which drivers are still in the fight for the playoffs is notice the purple banners along with the purple splitter and the purple spoiler that you see on these trucks. The drivers that have that are the ones that are, of course, still fighting for a championship. Just a few races to go in the season as well. I kind of wanted to mention that. We've got next week and then just 1 week after that, so things are winding down here pretty quickly. And so not just for the playoff drivers, but for anybody in the field that's maybe still looking to capture that first win of the season, you have to start picking up the pace here a little bit. We have an idea of what cars we're going to see the rest of the way. The championship race, we know what car and where it's going to be at. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But now, how about starting to shuffle his way to the front? It's the 53 of Dave Hunt and the Emery Riddle machine. And he's going to try to push this 16 clear further back. Boy, that was a big move right there from the 88 of Gabe Butler. Beautiful looking paint scheme on his truck. That number 88. Watch for him to continue to try to dice his way through the field as he's now drawn even with the 77 of David Booth. Josh Gambron in the field here tonight. Good to see him as well. Good looking colors on that truck as well. But up front, it has been all the 44 of Anthony English and the 12 of Zach Fritsch. The 16 of Nathan Warren was able to push that 44 to the lead. Now he's waiting for somebody to return the favor. Boy, Dave Hunt all but was able to push him clear right there, but just couldn't quite make it happen. That stacks him up a little bit, especially further back. You see the 66 there of Bubba Winningham, maybe with a brief hiccup, lost some momentum, and he's going to try to get it back now. And you really got to make your momentum down the straights here. And, of course, the outside we know is the better place to be down the straights, but with how bumpy it is in the turns, I even wonder if for that inside, maybe they start to lose the advantage as the run goes on, even through the turns, because you got to try to hold that truck down. The more wheel you have to put into it, the more speed you're scrubbing off, but certainly not the case right now. Anthony English is able to kind of pull to a lead as they work through the turns, and then it's the 16 of Nathan Warren who's able to get back out in front once they work onto the straights. The other thing I kind of want to mention with these trucks and how they kind of drive slightly different relative to some of the other series we see, most contrary to what we saw in the Xfinity cars, these trucks are way different, especially with the new updates, but you can do a little bit more pushing around this track in the trucks than you could, of course, in the Xfinity car. And so what that means for everybody here tonight is that, I say the Xfinity cars, in fact, if, I want to make sure I get this right, is, I know it was a few weeks back, but, of course, when we were at Legacy Daytona, we were in, was it the trucks? No, it was indeed the Gen 4 car. Yeah, that's what it was. The last time we were at Legacy Daytona was the Gen 4 car, which still drives relatively different to the trucks. But what you see is the 53 of Dave Hunt, and this is kind of the point I was going to get to. He's getting a little bit more brave with the pushing he can do. He's starting to realize that he can do it in the trial as long as he had that 16 of Nathan Warren squared up. He kept doing it, and over the course of a couple laps, they were getting better and better, and finally, that outside line was able to get clear. Nathan Warren jumps down as he now goes to the point down the super stretch. The 53 of Dave Hunt might have needed that too. This will give him a chance to cool down. Is now Adam Kilday, another one of the playoff drivers that advanced to the round of 8. Had a great run last week. He's going to see if he can push this 53 clear and cycle another one to the front, and then put himself in position to potentially fight for the lead. And looks like we're going to have one peel off here. Is this the first sign of pit stops? Yes, it is. That's going to be the 27 of Sean Stevens. But interestingly enough, the 27 goes down all by himself. Bold strategy call here for Stevens. I don't know how well this is going to work out, because you really kind of need to have draft here to be able to make any sort of speed. And going down by himself, he's guaranteed to not have draft for at least kind of the outlap here. And that may be too long without draft for him to stick with the pack. We'll have to watch this. By the way, I brought up the weather outside to show you. You saw the bright sun reflecting. We are in morning time here in the sim. Track temp has went up a degree, but as Stevens works his way out of the pits, he's going to really have to hope that the leaders decide to bring it down this time as well. Although I don't know that they will. Looks like they will. Here comes the 16 of Nathan Warren, and he's going to draw on a pretty good crowd with him. Let's see if they can all get in clean. Zach Fritsch will follow. Looks like so does Anthony English. The 49, he went in, as did the 33 of Crosby Jr. I think I see Vicente Guerrero there towards the back, along with John Guerra. So this is really the first big group to make a pit stop here tonight, as they'll all try to get into their pit stalls nice and clean. And as they do so, this first stop should be maybe 2 tires, and then, of course, filling it up with fuel. And it looks like that's what most drivers will do. Left side tires, and then it is out from there. And it looks like just about everybody had a clean stop, all but one maybe. And, oh, man, is that the 16 of Nathan Warren of all drivers? Is that the one that made a mistake here? Boy, I don't know if it was a mistake, but the 16 certainly was some sort of issue here, as he actually had blinked out there for a minute. He's back now, but can't seem to get in his pit stop. Boy, this has gone from bad to worse for Nathan Warren back up front. The rest of your leaders, it looks like, are going to make their pit stop here, as Dave Hunt, Kevin Freese, Gabe Butler, Adam Kilday, Eric Laurie, Bubba Winningham, all coming down for their service now. Bubba Winningham got the Chevyland paint scheme on that Chevy Silverado. Pretty good advertisement there. As there's the 88 of Gabe Butler. He'll pull out of his stall, so Bubba Winningham not going to be able to stick with these guys as Kevin Freese. He'll lead this group out of the pits. Now the big question is, where is everybody else? There's some of the groups, some of the trucks that have already made a pit stop as they just now rocket out of camera view. And boy, they still got a long ways to go. This first group got in and out pretty quick. But what I do want everybody to notice is what lap we're on, 16 of 70. They will not be able to make it to the end of the stage at this point without pitting again, unless you really start to try to save now. And even then, I mean, you're still looking at having to save probably 3 laps worth of fuel, and maybe more so 2 to 3. But either way, I don't know if I see it happening, especially not for the drivers who pitted the lap or 2 before this group that we're seeing here. And there they are, Anthony English, Zach Fritsch, along with the 49 of Josh Gambro, Jeff Crosby Jr., and Vicente Guerrero. They're all going to go rocketing around the outside. That's going to bring 3, 4, all 5 of them clear, as they'll now jump down. New set of leaders, and now they will start to settle in here, run some single file laps until we get closer to that next green flag pit stop. There is a second and third pack that formed up. Second pack right now is being led by John Guerra, David Booth there, as well as Rick Sanchez. And then that third group being led by Andy Brigante. Len McNeese is there, and so is Jimmy Reynolds. And they're all kind of trying to play kind of tag up, if you will, to see if they can catch these leaders. And it looks like the second group will. No issues there. Question is, can the third group do it? Andy Brigante right now is just over 2 seconds back from the rear bumper of Rick Sanchez, the last truck attached to this lead group. Not close enough to be in drafting range yet, but if they can stay tight enough together and make up a little time here over the next couple laps, they're still close enough where they could get back in drafting range and potentially start to track down your leaders. Well, up front, so much for single file. We are back to 2 wide and actually going to go 3 wide now. On the outside, that's Kevin Freese looking high. He's got some help from Gabe Butler. Eric Laurie there as well. Again, we still have a pit stop to go, but I think these drivers decided it was time to turn it up a little bit, see how these things feel. And man, all over the place was the 33 of Crosby right there, stuck in the middle. Not sure if there was maybe some contact up top that led to that, but that was really, really a sketchy moment right there for a couple of your playoff drivers. As in fact, you got quite a few of them, make it 6 running inside the top 10 and in this lead pack. Jeff Crosby Jr. is going to be able to jump to the inside, and I'm thinking he's really relieved to have the chance to do that, because that middle is treacherous in general, much more when you're 3 wide at a track that's as bumpy as Legacy Daytona is. And so we'll hop on board here with Adam Kilday, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. This track almost feels a little bit more narrow than New Daytona, and again, a lot bumpier. So watch what Adam Kilday has to do here with the wheel just to try to keep this truck in the middle, as he's got Kevin Freese on his outside, Jeff Crosby Jr. along with another truck in tow on his inside. And all at the same time, he's trying to push Vicente Guerrero to see if he can get him out front. So a lot of pushing and shoving, but you got to be careful here. I know everybody's got that fast spare, but you don't want to tear your stuff up early. You'd like to have that fast spare later on, just in case something goes wrong as you're trying to go for it. That way you still kind of have that backup plan that you can go to if you were to need it. As they cross the line this time now, it's going to be 20 of 70 laps complete, and they are still 3 wide. No signs of the action dying out anytime soon. You can see right there, Kevin Freese and Vicente Guerrero both with a lot of momentum, but just not enough to get clear the 33 of Crosby Jr. And so they'll have to stay where they are, and that means they'll stay 3 by 3, and you wonder, are one of the lanes starting to run out of temps as the bottom resurges a bit? Zach Fritsch pushing the 44 of English, who's pushing the leader on that line, the 33 of Crosby. And still nobody getting the advantage as of yet. Now I will say, when you get these cooler track temps, usually you kind of expect maybe that third lane to not quite work as well. But boy, that is not the case here tonight. That third lane is working plenty good enough as they continue to hold even. The 14 Vicente Guerrero, still not quite enough of a push from Adam Kilday for him to get clear, at least not yet. And so Kevin Freese, Kevin Freese gets enough momentum to where he would technically be clear to the bottom. Problem is he's not quite clear of the 14, so he can't even jump down to the middle. And you've got 3 up top, 3 in the middle, so it's kind of a stalemate. The bottom's got a few more trucks. There they go. They're going to wreck. They're going to wreck them off, but 2. Caution is out. We almost had 1 go up and over. I believe that was either the 25 of Kevin Freese or the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. They're still wrecking. Gabe Butler's going to pile in at the last second as he had nowhere to go. Eric Laurie, he spins around again in the grass. And you kind of knew it was a matter of time, and it all went wrong off of turn 2. And this has quite a few of the playoff drivers, or at least a few of them, that were in this lead pack with some damage. As this is now going to set us up for a little bit of a late run here on the stage. But before we talk about that, let's go take a look at where it all went wrong. Looked like he kind of started in the middle of this group here as, English starts to wash up, and boy, from that angle, it certainly looks like there may have been a little bit of netcode between those 2 trucks here. That's Josh Gambron in the middle, and watch it from the chopper view. And again, as bumpy as it is on the bottom, it is really tough to hold it right on the yellow, but does he bump the apron? No, he doesn't bump the apron. And you can see the 49 of Gambron is riding just a little bit lower. I'm not sure if he's trying to duck out for some air or what the case is, but he is running just a touch lower than the 2 trucks in front of him. And at the same time, English just ever so slightly starts to bobble up the track. But I think they're okay here. Like, I don't think they're going to make contact, but iRacing thinks they are. Gives them a little bit of netcode contact right there. And that just turns the 44 pretty much dead right. He gets into the 85 at Kilday. And then it's on from there. You see the 49, Josh Gambron. And then actually, boy, there was a second incident up front there with Vicente Guerrero getting turned around. They were actually ahead of the wreck. So, boy, that's a really unfortunate break there. We'll have to go back and watch that one. But before we do that, do want to give you a couple more angles of this here. So, again, focus on, there's the 44, there's the contact. And then watch it unfold from here. The 88 of Gabe Butler gets up into the wall. Pretty hard shot. Man, the 49 of Gambron, huge hit with the front nose of his Ford F-150. And there's Vicente Guerrero on the left. Look at that truck start to climb into the air before it finally sets itself back down. And, of course, part of the reason for that was him getting turned. Kevin Freese, he's going to go for a slide as well. That truck even starts to lift up briefly. And Anthony English slides below the yellow. He's got damage to the front end. And so I can count at least 3 of the playoff drivers, if not a few more, with damage just from that camera angle. Let's go back and look at this from a couple other views. So there's that initial contact. There's the secondary part of the incident. As you see, John Guerra, the 77 as well. A lot of drivers that were able to miss it. That was David Booth, by the way, in the 77, who we saw jump low. And then let's go watch this here for Vicente Guerrero, who again looked like was okay, was going to escape this wreck. There's the contact right there. And we'll go to Vicente Guerrero right here. He just gets hooked by Kevin Freese, who I think may have gotten tapped here by Kilday as a part of this wreck. Watch this. Kevin Freese on the top, and as contact into the 85. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Just a little bit of, again, maybe a little bit more netcode, but gets into that 25's left rear. That turns him down the track, which hooked Vicente to the right. And then it's on from there for Vicente Guerrero, who went for a pretty wild slide. We'll show you that view a couple more times and give you an onboard shot. That's for Vicente Guerrero right here. Look at this thing. Again, we talked about the trucks, the new update. One of those updates was new damage model. And that means that when these things get turned backwards, it is really easy for them to catch air. And for Vicente Guerrero, really lucky that that thing did not go all the way over and get into the catch fences. Of course, that would have made the damage a whole lot worse. And then right at the end there, actually, you're going to see secondary incidents. We'll look at this here from the gearbox view. Vicente Guerrero's, see them all piling up out back. And then there's Vicente getting turned. And then watch this second incident right here. Right at the end of it, it's going to be a couple more drivers that make contact that have nowhere to go. Eric Laurie. And then Gabe Butler we saw with the contact up top, as there was the 13 arriving late on scene. That was Andy Brigante. So he had to make sure he got himself checked up. All right, so as we go back live, we saw some of the drivers going back in there to either repair some more damage or top off on fuel. And now for this restart, fuel will no longer be a question. Everybody went into pit to grab some fuel. And so they will be good to go, at least to make it to that lap 35 point. which it looks like is going to be exactly 10 laps away from when we grab the green flag again right here. Up front, it's the 77 of David Booth, Zach Fritsch in second, Adam Kilday back in third, Jeff Crosby Jr. is in fourth, Jimmy Reynolds rounds out your top five, Rick Sanchez back in sixth, Shane Ward seventh with Derek Donna in eighth, Bubba Winningham in ninth, and Douglas Johnson currently rounding out your top 10. Well, we got a little taste of 3 wide right there, and I think we might be getting a little bit more here because, again, this will be only 10 laps to decide the stage winner, especially if you're one of those playoff drivers that are still trying to advance to the round of 4. You need these stage points, whether you're above the cut line or below, it doesn't matter. You need these stage points to help you feel a little bit more secure because a win is not guaranteed. So you got to go for points wherever you can get them. And speaking of that playoff picture, I know we've talked about who's in it, but let's take a brief look at where they are relative to that cut line. So we'll get a quick look at it. And again, I know it cuts off some of these drivers here, but I'll try to break it down for you the best I can. So here's what it is. Zach Fritsch currently the highest. Well, you see they're all +0. So it actually, I forgot about that. The way they set it up over here at OP Racing for the Wednesday series, points reset every round. So everybody's pretty much on an even playing field. That's just the way points finished, of course, after the round of 16 when they moved on to the round of 8. But that means that everybody had a fresh, kind of a fresh slate, if you will, coming into this race here tonight. So we'll see who can take advantage of it. Here we go, the iRacing.com pace truck back onto the pits. Field in the hands of David Booth, Zach Fritsch. Green flag is back in the air. And it's a good restart for the front row. The 77 of David Booth gets through the gears pretty smooth. And on the outside, the 12 of Fritsch already has some help. And he'll actually get the advantage as they work off towards turn number 1. The 12 not quite able to get clear. Now the 77 is going to start to fight back on the inside. Jeff Crosby Jr. doing all the pushing on the bottom. Adam Kilday will be doing all the pushing up top. Watch for anybody back there to try to get that third lane going. I don't know if they'll do it yet. But again, they will not have that much time if you're not inside the top 5. In fact, I'll go back a little bit further. With 10 laps to go, if you're not inside the top 10, might be time to start trying to work towards the front. 5 laps to go. If you're not in the top 5 and you're wanting that stage win, it is go time. But we'll see if anybody chooses to do that, as they are now back up to full speed after the first lap on the restart's complete. And that'll now make it just 9 laps to go here in the stage. Zach Fritsch back to the lead on the outside, trying to get clear of the 77 of Booth before they get down towards turn number 1. And doesn't look like he's going to have any luck that time. But man, I'll tell you what, Adam Kilday, I mean, what more can you ask for? This guy is one of the best pushers in the series. And you see why right here. Watch as they get down the backstretch. I mean, the aggression, the balance, if you will, between aggression and precision is just, it's all you can ask for. He makes sure he's got him squared up and then just lays the hammer down. And look at that. Zach Fritsch able to stay out in front down the entirety of the backstretch. Still not enough to get clear. And that's because the man doing the pushing on the inside is doing equally as good of a job right now. Jeff Crosby Jr. trying to hold the 77 even, but he's not going to be able to do it. Looks like finally the 12 of Fritsch will get clear, but the question is, does he take it? Hasn't taken it as of yet. Maybe trying to pull Adam Kilday with him. Still no luck. They'll work off towards turn number 1. Fritsch has not dropped low as of yet. They're going to be coming up on a lap truck. It's going to be the 59 of John Guerra. Watch this here. This could get a little bit dicey. And it looks like they'll catch him right as they work onto the super stretch, so no issues there as everybody's going to get by, and they'll get back to 2x2. So with Zach Fritsch taking the point and not going down, that tells me that he really, really likes the pushing that he's getting from the 85 of Kilday right now, and that's why he's content to stay running up top. And he probably knows that, I mean, realistically, Kilday's not going to plan on making a move. And he may not even make a move for the rest of the stage, but if he was going to make a move, I don't think he'd make that move until probably the last lap because he's already in such a good position. Wouldn't want to throw it away or potentially put himself in a bad spot coming to the end of the stage. Now it'll be David Booth who starts to surge back ahead thanks to the push from the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. And how about now starting to make his way up towards the front of the field? It's Shane Ward who now is up to 5th. And he is currently up 11 spots from where he started this race at. Jimmy Reynolds, he's also making his way to the front. Vicente Guerrero's back in 7th. You got Douglas Johnson in 8th with Kevin Freese in 9th. And Anthony English currently rounding out your top 10. And they'll be coming to 30 laps to go in just a couple laps. This will be lap 29 of 70 complete. And so that puts us now with just 6 laps to go in the stage. Remember, it'll be on the start of lap 35, not the end. Further back, look at this. Maybe a little bit of 3 wide. I believe that's Gabe Butler trying to get this outside line going. Indeed it is. We'll see if he's able to get any followers, but right now the 88 looks like he wants to try to go to the front. Gabe Butler now looking to the outside of Anthony English. Will anybody try to jump up to block the momentum of this 88? Watch for Douglas Johnson. He gave it a thought, but he thinks better of it as he'll now go back down to the middle. And if the help's not going to come out front, then Gabe Butler says, I'll wait for it out back. Here comes Eric Laurie in the 071. He jumps up as, oh, trouble. The 388's going to go around into the outside wall. Caution is out now. Gabe Butler's going to spin as Douglas Johnson slides on the outside safer barrier. And he's going to stay there until the rest of the field goes by before he loops that 388 truck back around. Second caution of the night, and this is either going to end the stage or most likely set us up with 1 lap to go for the restart in the stage. Let's go back and look at it here. Started in kind of an odd spot, but they were 3 wide. And then let's see what happens here. Does the 388 have any issues here? Does it start somewhere else? See Gabe Butler, he's running up top. And, ooh, some contact maybe, or maybe a little netcode. Either way, we'll have to look from the chopper view, but some contact between those 2 trucks. Gets the 88 up into the outside wall, and then the 388 starts to come back down. English is trying to squeeze through the gap. Some contact sends the 388 around. And as he gets tagged by the 48 of Andrew Schroeder, just kind of on from there. Watch this from the chopper view first, though, and see if there was indeed contact here between Gabe Butler and the 388 of Johnson, or was it just... Let's see here. So we'll back this up, and we're going to play it slow for you. Watch the outside. Let's see what's going on here. No push from behind, at least not there. Looks like the 388 was maybe washing up just a little bit, but at the same time here, looks like maybe Gabe Butler just slightly started to work down. Watch his right side tires. They were right around the white line, maybe slightly above it. Now they're on it. Boy, yeah, I mean, either driver, if they're moving, they're not moving much. And I do think the 388 was, shuffling up just a little bit here. Maybe hit one of those bumps through the corner, and then again, situation where there's not really any actual contact, at least not from the replay angles we can see. I mean, you can see it right here, clear as day. Watch, these trucks, they don't actually hit each other. They get close, but then right there, the game thinks they are, hooks them together. That's what sends Gabe Butler into the outside wall, and then Anthony English just trying to scatter. They probably think that it's going to be a wreck up top, so he goes to go to the middle, and instead that's where the 388 ends up. Turns him around, and then it's on from there. A little contact, as we mentioned, from the 48 of Andrew Schroeder. Didn't appear to be anything too bad. And then for Gabe Butler, looked like after that hit to the outside wall, it was a pretty mindless spin to the inside of the racetrack. But this is the onboard view here for Gabe Butler. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Right there, you can see how it just kind of almost immediately just kind of shoots him into that outside wall. And then he has to go for a slide, trying to miss another truck that was wrecking. Again, overall, all things considered, does a pretty good job of holding on to it for what the situation was. But either way, back up front, it's David Booth, the 12 of Zach Fritsch on the outside. Then you've got Jeff Crosby Jr. back in third, Adam Kilday's in fourth, Shane Ward back in fifth, with Jimmy Reynolds sixth, Vicente Guerrero seventh, Anthony English in eighth, Derek Donna ninth, and Rick Sanchez rounding out your top 10. Lights are still on the pace car, by the way. We'll see if they go off either this time or next time, and that would set us up for, again, a late restart here at the end of the stage. Well, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. You're watching OP Racing's ButtKicker Grand National Series on Wednesday nights here on PGR eSports. Did see a couple people in the chat. Dan Parent and Ginger Parent says, "Let's go, Derek Donna." As I hope everybody is having a good Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, depending on, of course, where you're at. And so let's see if the lights go off this time. If they do, that would set us up for, looks like it would be a 2-lap shootout. If they don't, and that would set us up for a 1-lap shootout. I believe they will. Yep, sure enough, they do. All right, so this is going to set us up for a 2-lap shootout. We'll go green on lap 33, and we'll be throwing the caution for the stage on the start of lap 35. And of course, if we get a wreck before that, then that will bring out the caution as well, and that would officially end the stage. So we'll see if we can keep it green. And boy, that's not going to give you much time as a driver. Almost like a green-white checkered. It basically is, just for the stage, though. So if you're Fritsch, you got to be feeling pretty good. Kilday, Crosby, I think they're feeling pretty good as well. But for English and Guerrero, they may need to try to find a way to get together here and get to the front. As again, the more stage points, the better, especially since everybody got put back on an even playing field. So you can't have an advantage coming into the round, right? So that kind of eliminates the point of trying to get any bonus points or any playoff points because they don't matter. At least not at this point when you move from round to round. So either way, though, I think we're getting ready to see an exciting couple of laps. Once the stage break is over, though, everybody should come back in for fuel and potentially tires as well. And then I would expect that they can make it on a one-stopper based off when we go back green. And that strategy could still be affected by how quickly we get a caution here. If we get a caution pretty much, right as we take the green flag, then that may eliminate that strategy. But if we can make it to the end of the stage, then we get the caution. You figure we go back green probably with somewhere right around 40 laps complete. That would leave us with 30 to 31 to go. And so then it becomes a, can you maybe stretch it that far? So that would make things more exciting in terms of the fuel strategy side. All right, here we go. Field working in that tight 2x2 formation off of turn 4 as the pace truck will get ready to peel off down the pits. And we will set ourselves up for, again, will be a 2-lap shootout to decide the stage winner here tonight at Legacy Daytona. All right, here we go. Field going to go back in the hands of David Booth and Zach Fritsch. Green flag is back in the air. 2 laps to go in the stage here at Daytona. And it's a good restart for both trucks on the front row. Doesn't look like anybody will get the advantage in the first or the second row. Further back, you saw Kevin Freeze quickly make that move to the high side. Watch for that 25 truck. He may be thinking about trying to get together with a few guys and see if they can't get that third lane going here shortly. And it'll take this entire lap for everybody to really get up to their full momentum and have kind of a better chance at making some moves. But will everybody wait that long to try to get out to that third lane? Zach Fritsch leads him down the super stretch on the outside. David Booth still leading the inside. As they work off into turn number 3, still no 3 wide as of yet. 2x2 up front, though. This is going to be a matter of who can push their guy all the way back to the green and white checkered for the stage. Down the short chute they go. The advantage now going to go back to Crosby pushing the 77 of David Booth. But boy, Adam Kilday, a little bit of damage to the front nose of that truck. Does that affect him all in here? This is the final lap in the stage. Kilday is going to try to see if he can get Fritsch the stage win. Meanwhile, up top, here we go. Anthony English and Kevin Freeze, they're ready to go to the front. English, one of the playoff drivers who was involved in the last incident here tonight. And he knows that he's going to need some stage points here, and he needs them bad. He's going to try to see if he can ride this third lane all the way to the front. Final time down the super stretch in the stage, and Anthony English has just about drawn even with the leaders. Now he will into turn 3. Zach Fritsch still leading the middle. They're going to wreck. They're going to wreck him up. Through 3 and 4, the big one will strike. Big hit for Zach Fritsch. They're still wrecking big out back. The 33's in it. That's Jeff Crosby Jr. Adam Kilday, another one of your playoff drivers, is in it. And so the caution will end the stage. We'll have to go back and see who is out in front. There's Bubba Winningham. He's all torn up. Boy, I thought they were going to make it. I am not sure what went so wrong right there through 3 and 4, but something gave out a pretty big way here. Let's go back and look at it. We'll go first here again to the chopper view. And let's watch this here. Ooh, I see somebody on the bottom creeping up a little bit. That's the 39 of Shane Ward, it looks like. And let's see if that's where this starts or not. Shane Ward starts to get up the track and just slight contact. I don't know if he just loses it trying to save it or what happened, but he gets into the 17 and the 85, which just gets them out of shape, and then the big wreck's on from there. So I played a couple different angles for you. As I apologize, it looks like the computer is lagging just a little bit right now. And right, actually, let's back that up again, play a little bit slower here. So watch the 39. Going to start to drift up the track. In fact, it almost looks like from that view, his splitter may have bumped the apron, and that could explain why that truck shot up the track so fast. Watch the left front splitter, and I'm going to circle this just so you know what I'm talking about. On the 39 here of Shane Ward, watch the left front splitter right here. Watch it almost disappear here when we play it for you in slow motion as he gets really close to that yellow line right there. I think that was what shot him up. Let's go to the onboard view and see if that's the case. And right there is where he kind of, I think he may have just bottomed out hitting the apron, or at least the transition from the apron to the banking. And that might have been what got him so out of shape. But let's see here. So for Shane Ward, watch it from the normal cockpit view here. Take a watch, take a listen. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, all the wheel inputs he's got into that truck or to the left, then right there just starts jumping right on him. And once there's a little bit of contact in the right rear, sends him into the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. and wrecks on from there. Big one, too. I mean, they piled up heavy. On the outside, I said right rear, by the way. I meant to say left rear, which hooks him down into the 33 of Crosby. I'm looking here for Jeff Crosby Jr. Thought maybe for a split second he stayed on track, and I was getting ready to say, what is going on here? But there he is, currently sitting in 6th, so maybe he did stay on the track. Either way, let's go back and get a couple more views of this here. This was some big hits. I'm really surprised if he didn't have to pit for damage. Certainly a big-time incident. Biggest wreck that we've seen so far here tonight. And may not very well be the last. As there's the view from the blimp cam. Some big hits. I mean, Zach Fritsch, that was a huge shot. It's going to be a lot of damage that he's got to get repaired on that car for any chance at getting back out onto the racetrack here tonight. And even then, it may still not be a very viable option. Give you one more view of it here. One more view of it here to show you that hit for Fritsch. So you see the 12 gets turned around, a 20 over corrects right here. Hits a truck on the bottom and then sends him up. Look at that. Safer barrier just shoots that truck right back out on the racetrack. Gets tagged again. That's what led to all of his damage. All right, back live. Len McNeese being scored as your leader in the 84. And then you've got the 388 of Douglas Johnson. Dave Hunt in 3rd with Andy Brigante in 4th. David Booth in 5th. And then it's Jeff Crosby Jr. back in 6th. Anthony English in 7th. Sean Stevens in 8th. Eric Laurie 9th. And Derek Donna rounding out your top 10. By the way, this was to officially end the stage, or rather, I guess I should say that caution did end the stage. So assuming we didn't miss anything right here, we'll go back and see if we can figure out exactly who your leader was at the time of caution. So we'll back this up even further right here and go all the way down. All right, so let's see. We're waiting to see here and when the caution came out based off where they wrecked. So they're wrecking there. The caution came out pretty quickly, and I mean, from pretty much any view you look at it, it's pretty clean cut on who was out in front. And that's that 77 machine of David Booth. And so it appears, at least from anything we can see, that he should be crowned your stage winner. All right, so they will be going back green with 37 of 70. Actually, it'll be 38 of 70 laps complete. And so it'll be just over 30 laps left in this race. And so that means that it's still close on fuel. I mean, maybe even closer now than what I initially thought, because we're going green just about a lap or two sooner than we would have. I think if, of course, we could have made it to the stage before we had the caution, but either way, we'll see what everybody's got up their sleeve for the strategy call here tonight. And so the iRacing.com pace truck getting ready to make the left turn again here tonight. You've got Len McNeese leading on the inside, and then you've got Douglas Johnson leading on the outside. Couple of players coming back up into the mix now. Can't forget about Andy Brigante. He continues to flex some muscle here. The 85 of Kilday, he's back near the front. And then the 53 of Dave Hunt. He's been able to do both positions good here tonight in terms of pusher and leader. As here we go, green flag is in the air. We're back underway, the final stage here at Daytona, and it's a good restart from the inside line. Looks like the 84 of Len McNeese is going to be able to pull to the lead before they even get down towards turn number 1. It looks like, at least for now, Len is more than happy to sit with where he runs. As the 53 of Dave Hunt, he's going to have a chance here to potentially jump up. That's what I was waiting to see, if this 53 was going to take it, but looks like he wanted no part of it. He is content to stay on the bottom for now. And so that means that his job will be just trying to keep that 53 pretty even. And, oh, I say try to keep that 53 even. That's David Booth's job either way. So they still stay 2x2 out back. They're just getting a little bit more scattered. I think that would have to kind of expect that to close up here in the course of the next few laps or so. As right now everybody's still trying to get organized, get themselves set up here for what is still going to be somewhere around a 30 lap, still about 30 laps to go to the finish once they cross the line. Not next time, but the time after So we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break tonight, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to the AE 175 at Daytona International Speedway. 42 of 70 laps now complete, and we are still awaiting at least one, and the questions are still in the air about if we'll see two green flag pit stops before this race is all said and done. Notice the scoring tower on your left, the drivers that are not on the lead lap. Not many, but however, there's one big name right there, and that is one of your playoff drivers, Zach Fritsch, who currently is not being scored on the lead lap. Truck looks cleaned up, but he is really going to need a caution, and he's going to need one here pretty soon if he wants a chance to get that lap back. Slowly but surely closing in towards the end of this race. It's going to be 25 to go in just about 2 laps or so from now, as Fritsch is going to move to the bottom there further back. Meanwhile, up front, how about Len McNeese? He wants to go ahead and get some laps led, as the 84 continues to find himself out in front. The 53 of Dave Hunt second, and the 77 of David Booth in third. So in regards to when we're going to see that first green flag pit stop, or at least when we believe we might see it, you figure we went back green with 37 laps complete. And so you make it about, I'd say 15 to 16 laps from there. That gets you to maybe right around 53, maybe 56. Somewhere in that range. I'd say 53 to 55 would be kind of when I expect to see that next pit stop at the latest. And so we'll see who stretches it to there. If anybody decides to come in a little bit sooner, or if anybody decides to try to go in a little bit later to secure their chance of making it on a one stop. Because when we did go back green, it was about 33, 34 laps to go, which again, we think is going to be really close. I mean, we saw 16 on that first run in the first stage. So it's really close. If you save a little bit of fuel on one of these runs, I think you can make it happen. But again, if you're out front like Len McNeese is, it's a little bit of a tougher task to try to save some fuel. So we'll see how they decide to go about it. Still 2x2 though. Pressure has not calmed down from the outside line. Andy Brigante trying to get up here to push the 388 of Douglas Johnson. And not able to get there, at least not quite yet. The 59 of John Guerra. You see him in the mix. However, that is not for position. He's battling to try to get at least one of those laps that he lost back the hard way, as he currently sits 2 laps down. By the way, Kevin Freeze is the other truck not currently being scored on the lead lap, but he is with the lead pack, as he currently sits 6 laps down, and you see the damage that he still got on the left side of that truck. So that explains the way that most likely the rest of his night's going to be going, as just don't think you're going to be able to make 6 laps back up with the laps that we have remaining. Officially now 25 laps to go as we continue to close in on the finish of this 175-mile event here tonight. So far, so good. A few cautions, a big one or two, but now still 2x2 at the front of the field, and we are still awaiting that ever important and crucial green flag stop, and this is going to be the money stop, especially if, you know, and I think the assumption as each lap goes by is more and more that this should be the only stop here, assuming that they can make it to right around, I'd say 16 or 17 laps to go before they do indeed pit. And if that's the case, that means it's the money stop, your last one of the race, and you have got to be perfect. Any mistakes might cost you a chance at this race, and maybe even a chance to try to hang on to the lead lap. As look at this, we're going to see 2 more trucks lose a lap here. One of them is Josh Gambrone, and the other is Gabe Butler. Pack should get there, and probably by the end of this lap here. And so we'll see if these two try to fend for their position at all, or if they just let the leaders go by. As looks like Gabe Butler starting to shift towards the high side, and sure enough, he'll move up by the wall down the super stretch as he can hear the rush and probably see it in his mirror of that lead pack getting closer and closer. And so as they stay up top, this is again going to get a little dicey, as they're going to have to go 3 wide here as they work around these lappers. We'll see if they can get through it okay. And watch here, let's see what they decide to do. Looks like they're actually going to pull to the apron there, and that's a very, very kind of respectful veteran move from a couple of drivers that know what they're doing in the series. Gabe Butler, a longtime veteran of the series, and that's why he moved down to the apron. He doesn't want to accidentally mess these guys up when he knows that they're kind of on a long green flag run. And look at that, able to merge right back before they get to the turn, and so we'll try to catch a draft off of these guys and see if he can't hang around in this lead pack for a little while. By the way, on the flip side of that, you saw Josh Gambrone right there. He actually drove it to the pits. Was a little bit surprised to see that from the 49, as in fact, he's just flat up brought it to a halt here. Not sure what's going on. A little bit of damage there to the rear. Oh, and big damage to the front. I don't remember him having this damage. Was this something that happened here when him and Gabe Butler were together right before the leaders got there? That's what I'm wondering now. It is. Oh boy, that's exactly what it is here. What in the world happens here? Watch Josh Gambrone here as he worked down to the apron and then goes to the pits and locks it up, and into the inside concrete wall he goes. Now granted, he already had some front end damage, but I'm really not too sure what that was right there for the 49, but I guess a mistake in terms of, it seemed like he was hanging on with Gabe Butler okay, but now it looks like this may officially end his night as watch him drive down to the pits here. Let's see what happens here. He's trying to turn, and it looks like that thing was not working with him too well. You got to kind of wonder if he had some sort of steering issue with that truck. I don't know if it was from previous damage or what, but the way it was driving there almost kind of made it appear that he had some sort of steering issue right here. Yeah, look at it. Look how far offset right it is as he's trying to turn it left. Yeah, I bet you that played a big part in that right there for Gambrone. Some sort of steering issue from the damage he had already sustained ultimately led to further damage, which looks like is going to, in turn, end his night. All right, so back up front, single file for the lead, but 2x2 for second on back. As actually looks like in the chat, Josh Gambrone says too much wheel damage, couldn't turn. And well, all right, so there's your answer. Sure enough, Josh Gambrone with the wheel damage, that is what led to that issue right there. And then earlier, Ginger Parent said, can we talk about Derek Donna skating through that? I assume that was to an earlier wreck. And Ginger, I apologize if I skipped over it. Try to catch as much as we can, but still getting back to the front in time, as here we go. We're going to see our first round of pit stops and big lockups for Jimmy Reynolds. Man, he really had to get that truck rolled up at the last second, but he does. And this is a pretty big group. You got Kilday, Len McNeese. We talked about Jimmy Reynolds, David Booth, Anthony English. And not just that, but you got Vicente Guerrero further back. He's making a stop. Here comes Dave Hunt, although lagging a bit behind here. And so now that we've seen the first group, now it's just a matter of time before we see the second group. And by the way, any questions about if they were going to make this on a one-stop, they've been answered now. They're not. I mean, 20 laps to go. At least this group that brought it in this time, there's just no way, because they can only go maybe 16 laps max. So everybody that you see pitting right here, I would 100% expect to see have to make at least one more pit stop. Question's going to be, when do they make it? Now, when will we see the second group go in? Looks like they're going to follow pretty close in suit. They'll bring it down to the pits this time. Let's see if they can all get in as clean as the first group did. And sure enough, John Guerra, that's not for position, but he leads the trucks that brought it down to the pits in. Zach Fritsch is there as well. The 13 of Andy Brigante, the 39 of Shane Ward, Gabe Butler, and a few trucks that are not on the lead lap with this pack right here. Jeff Crosby Jr., you saw him make his pit stop as well. We got one more group that's got to make their final stop, and that is Andrew Schroeder, Nathan Warren, and Eric Laurie. It looks like Kevin Freese, of course, who is sticking with this pack. And now let's see how they fare out. Question to the group that already made that pit stop. You see them there working through the tri-oval. It looks like they're probably going to retain the lead somewhere down the backstretch. That group that already pit, that is. And that group that already pit that I'm referring to is right now being led by Anthony English. Again, he's at full pace, and he's catching Jeff Crosby Jr., who is still about 35 miles an hour slower. And so, I mean, they're just going to go rocketing by, almost like at a standstill here. No defense going to be able to be played there. Last group to make their stops. Looks like they're all going to get in clean. Eric Laurie, Nathan Warren, and Andrew Schroeder all find themselves in their box now. 2 tires and fuel will be the call. Schroeder in the jet scheme here tonight. And as he now will work his way back out of the pits. And now it becomes the question of where do they fare out in reference to Anthony English. I don't know here. I don't know if it's going to work out quite as well. They are just now getting ready to enter turn 1, and there's the leaders. Yeah, boy, this is going to be really close on if they can stick with that lead pack. Eric Laurie, he got a pretty good jump out of the pits. Problem is he doesn't really have much help right now. And there's Anthony English with Adam Kilday, Vicente Guerrero, and then, of course, the 27 as well. Sean Stevens all up to full speed. Yeah, Laurie should be okay here. I think he'll be able to tag on. And in fact, Kevin Freese, Nathan Warren, and even the 48 of Schroeder, it's going to be close for them, but they may be able to eventually tag on to this group as well. And so the first pit cycle is complete. The big question is how many trucks got lost in that one. Right now, the lead pack spans all the way back, because you got to remember, pretty much everybody that we're showing camera angles on right now is within range that they will all kind of group together to become one pack. The lead pack, in terms of cars that are on the lead lap, goes back to Andrew Schroeder, which is only 11 drivers that are on the lead lap. But the pack, of course, is a lot bigger than that, and that shows you just how many drivers that we have a lap down right now. In fact, 18th on back are lap down trucks, and just about all of them are currently still hanging with the lead pack. That'll make things interesting, especially if they stay that way as we get closer towards the end of the race. But at least for right now, looks like they're going to stay 2x2. Zach Fritsch trying to get one of his laps back the hard way. Jeff Crosby Jr. is working with him. Anthony English, he leads the bottom with some help from Kilday and Vicente Guerrero. Good recovery after kind of just hanging around for the middle portions of this race. 14, he was also in a wreck earlier, but now has himself back up to that third position on the inside. As it looks like David Booth, he's going to try to get a little adventurous here. He'll try to jump to the outside, see if he can maybe help these two. And again, remember, for Fritsch, this is not for the lead. This is for him trying to get one of those laps back. And in fact, I believe it's the only lap he's got to get back. Yeah, sure enough. And so if he gets himself on the lead lap, that in turn actually helps Gabe Butler and a couple of others here, because then Gabe Butler would be in position to get the lucky dog. And that could open the door for somebody else to maybe get it the next caution. Just kind of moves everybody up a spot in line, basically, if Fritsch is able to be ahead of that 44 truck as of now, if there were to be a caution. And again, that's assuming that, of course, he wasn't in it. That would be a separate issue in of itself. Now, I know we talked a little bit about points earlier, but I do want to briefly mention what the schedule is looking like for the rest of the season. Again, only a couple races to go. Next week will be the final race in the round of 8, and that will be the Gen 4 cars at Talladega. That's going to be a good one. And then the final race of the season, the championship, the round of 4, will be on October 16th. That will be back in the Xfinity car, and that will be at Daytona International Speedway under the lights. Best place to do it. That will be a good one. Make sure that you tune in for that. We're looking forward to it, as I'm sure the drivers on track are, whether you're in the playoffs or not. That's still, I think, my favorite super speedway to race at, Daytona. Just something about the bright lights at the World Center of Racing. And right now, you can see some of these trucks starting to struggle a little bit with handling. Again, they've only taken 2 tires since we went back green to start this stage, because, of course, the only pit stop they had was under green, so you only had time for 2. And this final pit stop, I don't even know if you'll have time for that. So by the end of this race, these tires are really, really going to be worse for wear. And it's going to be interesting to see who's able to hold on and who isn't. But right now, still looking nice and clean up front. The 33 of Crosby was finally able to get the 12 of Zach Fritsch clear. And so as Fritsch now sits on the bottom, it's the 33 of Crosby Jr. leading the top. He's getting pushed by the 77 of David Booth. Anthony English, Kilday, the two lead trucks on the bottom. I say lead trucks on the lead lap, I should say. And they seem to be content right now with pushing the 12. And I guess as long as he has speed, no point necessarily trying to get around him, at least not until we get through that final pit stop. We'll be coming to just 13 laps to go. And again, we still have one more pit stop expected. So before we get any further, we're going to take what should be our final commercial break of the night. Stick with us. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be right back at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. 10 laps to go in the AE 175, and you saw it all while we were nonstop pit stops. The final cycle was underway, and now just a few trucks left out on track that have not made a pit stop yet. And I would have to assume this is some of the drivers that are just hoping and maybe we can get a late caution. As that final group, though, at least of the leaders, I guess I should say the trucks that will cycle out to be the leaders, they're making their way off now, and unfortunately for them, doesn't look like they're going to be able to stick with what will become the leaders here as they work off of turn 2. Again, Dave Hunt, Jimmy Reynolds currently being scored as your leaders, but once the cycle finishes up here, it'll be Adam Kilday, Anthony English, Vicente Guerrero, and everybody that can tag on to this lead pack. That will be the battle for the win, and they're pretty spaced out right now. That helps the trucks further back, and unfortunately for the guys up front, that's not what they want to see. They want to see that gap for the first 5 or 6 close up, and then they want to try to scoot away, make it as kind of the least amount of horses in the race as possible. And as they now hit what's going to be 9 laps to go, it is still the 85 of Kilday out in front. And right now, and by the way, it looks like one of those 2 leader trucks did pit, so that leaves just Dave Hunt out on the racetrack. He will have to come in soon to make his final stop. So now this is interesting, though, because I was getting ready to say, how long do they stick with Adam Kilday right here? And the answer was not long. Anthony English was ready to go to the lead. He jumped up, and look at that. The 14 as looks like we may have had a brief connection drop, so I apologize. Looks like hopefully it's starting to stabilize itself. Apologize for that. Nonetheless, though, still 2x2 as they're coming up on a lap truck here. When they cross the line, Next time, it'll be just 7 laps to go. The big question going to be, can they make it all the way to the white flag to make this race official? And as many cars as you see up here in the lead pack, it's actually the cars that are on the lead lap only goes back to Nathan Warren and Andrew Schroeder, which is the 8th and 9th place running trucks. So as it stands, you've really only got 8 trucks that are fighting for the win in this lead pack, but you've got quite a few others that are still fighting to either get a lap back, try to get back on the lead lap, fighting for the lucky dog, or something of that nature. 7 laps to go. Anthony English leads the outside. Vicente Guerrero still on the inside. Adam Kilday, remember, he was able to push the driver in front of him to a win last week. We'll see if he can do it again this week from a different lane. And Anthony English, Jeff Crosby Jr., 2 of the playoff drivers. You know, Kilday and Vicente Guerrero in the same spot on the bottom, but, I mean, Kilday doesn't really have anywhere to go. Jeff Crosby Jr. does. And so you kind of wonder, does the 33 try to make a move on the last lap to seal it? Or does he stay loyal and try to push the 44 and just take a top 5 finish? I think a lot of it's going to depend on if this third lane gets going. Nobody has jumped up there, at least not as of yet. Maybe feeling like it's still just a little bit too early, and there you go. You saw Dave Hunt peel off to the pits. He had lost the lead just before either way, but now that he pits, that officially completes the final stop for every truck in this field, at least under green. They went by another one of the lappers right there. It was further back, I believe it was Derek Donna. Sure enough, it was. And so Derek in the 215 is not quite going to be able to hang on to the draft. That adds another driver that's going to need a caution here. And boy, you can see that the pushing is starting to turn into shoving. That's one of the things we talked about earlier. And look at the speeds now. 193 was some of the top speeds that we saw at the end of the backstretch earlier. We just saw 197 miles an hour from Vicente Guerrero as they worked into turn 3. Adam Kilday able to get back out in front, though, through 3 and 4. They're still 2x2. Rick Sanchez, one of the trucks that got eliminated from the playoffs after last week, but still looking for a good run here tonight, and he has executed up to this point. He's got himself in 3rd on the inside. And if you're Anthony English and you get clear of Vicente Guerrero here, do you take it? Do you stay up? Or are you planning on jumping down and jumping back up? This is the mind games that everybody in the field is trying to figure out right now, all while going nearly 200 miles an hour. Vicente right now looking very comfortable off the front bumper of Adam Kilday. We talked about guys trying to push the limits of how much you could push in these trucks earlier. Still have not seen anybody try to push in the corner, at least not yet. But as the laps continue to wind down, does anybody start to give it a consideration? And there we go. We're going to see that third lane. Was wondering when it was going to get formed. Here we go. 2 of them are going to jump to the top. It's going to be the 16 of Nathan Warren and the 48 of Andrew Schroeder. Only 2 trucks for now. They might need a little bit more, and they're going to get it. Jeff Crosby Jr. is going to jump to the top. He'll bail on Anthony English. And the 44 is going to get some help. It'll be in the form of the 27 of Sean Stevens. 3x3 back for 2nd and 3rd row. But now that third lane starts to fade. Still going to need a little bit more help. Zach Fritsch, he'll now jump up to that third lane to try to keep the racing exciting. Adam Kilday had it. He find his way to the middle. What a move. He'll get pushed clear. And now he jumps in front of Vicente Guerrero. They are still 3 wide. They've got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If they wreck any point from here to then, it will send us into overtime. And I'm telling you, these trucks, this is the worst they've been handling all night. Old tires, 3 wide, and more pushing than we have seen the entire race. Jeff Crosby Jr. trying everything to get clear up top. Not quite enough gas to make it happen as he gets into turn 1. Now he's going to get turned. The 33 gets down. The 44 of Anthony English, he'll go around. Caution is out as now the 071 of Eric Laurie hooked right at the end. That turned him into the outside wall. He'll come to a stop up top with the 27 of Sean Stevens. And that will answer the question about heading into overtime. And that's a caution that some of these trucks a lap down might have been happy to see, most notably Zach Fritsch. If he indeed did not get any X's, that would give him his lap back via the lucky dog. We'll have to find out, though, if that was indeed the case. But here we go. Let's back this up a little bit now and see how things get started here. Again, 3 wide. I hate to say it, but it seems like at this track, when you see that, something's going to have to give sooner or later here, and it finally does with, slight contact there on the bottom. That one, I could maybe call a little bit of netcode. It may have been, but boy, I think Anthony English is, of course, looking for a side draft. At the same time, Kilday bobbles up, And I wonder if Kilday bobbling up was as a result of a push here from Vicente Guerrero, or if it's just the 85 getting a little tight. Let's see here. I think that might have been partially, just ever so slightly, a result of a push here from Vicente Guerrero. It certainly looks like the 14 is locked onto the bumper of Kilday right here. And just maybe that slight push into the turn was a little bit offset left as well. If there was contact, again, it's so close right here, it's hard to tell. But if there was just a slight push, oh, here we go. This will give you the view we want. Watch the 14. He's locked on. Starts to unlock. Still, boy, it's really close. Either way, the 85 just ever so slightly comes up off that yellow line. At the same time, again, Anthony English running pretty low here, trying to grab a bit of a side draft. And it's just, I can't put it on anybody in the sense of it's just really hard racing coming to the end of a race. But, you know, what really sucks about this one is it's another situation where they save it. This is not a wreck. I mean, watch the 44 here. There's contact. He goes up the track. But then right here, English saves it. That's not a wreck. The 44 doesn't get into the 33. In fact, he doesn't even get that close at that point. But there's just a big pocket of netcode that catches the 33. I mean, you see it plain as day. Watch this. I mean, they're not even close to each other here when you see the 33 get hooked right there. And I mean, it just yanks the 33 right out of shape. Nothing Jeff Crosby Jr. can do. He saves it, but then English, after the contact between him and the 33 that second time, got turned down the track, and wreck was on from there. Watch it again here for English here once he got turned around into the pack. Right there, gets turned, and then there's nowhere for Sean Stevens to go, and then Eric Laurie right at the last second. Looked like he made it through, but instead gets hooked, and didn't notice that on the initial cam. But yeah, Nathan Warren, he took a pretty big shot in that one as well. We'll have to see. Hopefully he didn't get too much damage. As we'll go back and watch this incident here again for Eric Laurie, who I believe, probably all things considered, got the worst of this one. There's English sliding up. Sean Stevens here. And Jeff Crosby Jr. may have got a little bit more damage, but I think that truck will be okay to stay out on the racetrack. Give you another look at this here. Let's go to the onboard view for Sean Stevens, as he was kind of right in the middle of this one and saw a pretty good amount of it, and of course getting involved in it. But watch this here. So he sees exactly what I'm talking about with that netcode a little bit. Well, he doesn't have the best angle of it from the cockpit view, but so you get turned around right there. He's trying to save it, and then Eric Laurie, again, we talked about just wrong place, wrong time. I mean, there's nothing he can do about that. That's a really, really tough break for him there. All right, so as we go back live, talked about going to be setting ourselves up for an overtime. As looks like right now the 071 still out on the racetrack here. And this is interesting here for Eric Laurie. I'm not sure if he's in a position where he doesn't have a fast repair, but he wants to finish the race, and they're clearing his meatball, and he's just going to try to limp it around here for the 2 laps. I'm not sure, but it looks to be that way, as if Eric Laurie's going to try just to finish the race. Maybe hope for a big wreck on the last lap, or a big wreck here, a second overtime. I'm not sure, but I'm more curious about how long can that truck really run. I mean, you look at the front windshield, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be dirt or oil. Either way, point is, Eric Laurie is certainly worth for wear. You see the smoke coming out the back. But he's going to try to limp this thing around to see if he can bring it home. By the way, Zach Fritsch, big news for him. He was able to go ahead and get the lucky dog during that caution. That puts him back on the lead lap. And so all of a sudden, Zach Fritsch now throw him back into the mix to have a chance at it. And up front, Adam Kilday leads the way. Rather, on the inside, it's actually Vicente Guerrero who's being scored as your leader. Adam Kilday on the outside. Then you've got the 5 of Rick Sanchez lining up to 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. in row 2. Andrew Schroeder and the 13 of Andy Brigante rounding out row number 3. Remind you real quick of the overtime rules. We have to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And if they don't, then we will rack them up and try it again. We've got 2 total attempts at it. This will be attempt number 1. Get your picks in now. If you're just tuning in, you picked a good time to do so. We appreciate you being here as we get ourselves ready for overtime attempt number 1 in the AE 175 here tonight. Bubba Winningham in the 66. He's one of our onboard drivers here tonight, and he's got himself now back in the mix as well. He's in 8th. Wants to see if Bubba Winningham, can he find a way to get up here after getting eliminated last week, to get up here and still steal a win from these guys. and say, yeah, I may not be in the playoffs anymore, but I'm still here to get the job done. We're getting ready to find out. Vicente Guerrero, Adam Kildane, Jeff Crosby Jr., all with a chance to lock their ticket to the championship 4. Green flag is in the air. 2 laps to go at Daytona. Good restart for the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. He gets off to the better jump. Rick Sanchez is going to be able to tuck in line as well, and that inside is already organized about 3 to 4 cars deep. Outside's trying to get lined up as you see Jeff Crosby Jr. He's going to have to get on the back bumper here of Adam Kildane, and he is going to have to push for all he is worth. They'll work on to the super stretch now as they still try to get up to speed. No third lane, at least not as of yet, but we do have one now split into the middle. Looking at it from the blimp cam, some organization now on the outside. Look at all the momentum for Adam Kildane. He got clear briefly, but chose not to take it. Meanwhile, further back, look up top. It's the 53 of Dave Hunt. He's working together with John Garrow. We'll see if anybody else decides to jump up there. Here they come to take the white flag. 1 lap to go at Daytona. Adam Kildane on the point, but it's still Vicente Guerrero leading the inside. Andy Brigante, he'll now jump up to the third lane. They're 3x3 for third on back. Brigante is going to move back to the middle as they're still drag racing up front for the lead off into turn 2. Final time onto the Daytona Super Stretch. This is where you push for everything it's worth. On the outside, Adam Kildane, Jeff Crosby Jr. He's trying to get the 85 clear, but Rick Sanchez fighting back. He'll keep Vicente Guerrero up front. They're going to wreck out back. Big one as they all pile it up into turn number 3. It will be a 3 versus 2 battle. 3 on the bottom. Now, Vicente Guerrero goes to block. Now he's going to get split. 3 wide off of turn 4. The 14 truck trying to side drive Kildane. Now he's going to go around. Adam Kildane will lock his ticket into the championship 4. He wins it at Daytona. And boy, what a finish that one was in Vicente Guerrero. I'm not sure if he made the move or got sent up the track, but man, looked like he had a great chance at either first or second, and instead it ends in a 6th place finish. But it's a 1-2 for 2 of your playoff drivers. Adam Kildane brings home the win. Jeff Crosby Jr. finishes in 2nd. And then it's Andy Brigante rounding out the podium. Well, he brings it around to celebrate. Let's take a look at your finishing results again. Kildane, your winner. Jeff Crosby Jr. in 2nd with Andy Brigante back in 3rd. Then it's Rick Sanchez in 4th with Andrew Schroeder in 5th. Vicente Guerrero 6th. Shane Ward in 7th. Zach Fritsch back in 8th with Sean Stevens in 9th. And Nathan Warren rounding out your top 10. Anthony English finishes in 11th. It's Dave Hunt back in 12th with Bubba Winningham in 13th. David Booth 14th. Jimmy Reynolds 15th. Eric Laurie in 16th. Derek Donna 17th with Gabe Butler back in 18th. And then rounding out your top 20 here tonight, it's going to be Len McNeese and Douglas Johnson. John Garrow finishes in 21st. Kevin Freese in 22nd. Josh Gambrone finishes in 23rd. And he will round out your field here tonight. Celebration is on for Adam Kildane, who not only has now grabbed his first win of the playoffs, but has also locked himself in to the championship 4. See the 44 English, he's bringing it around. He wants to do a little celebrating as well with the driver of the 85. Well, what a crazy finish that one was, too. We're going to have to go back and take a look at it before we go grab your top 3 for interviews. As Kildane continues the celebrations here in front of the virtual grandstands. Looks like he will end it there. So let's go back and look at this finish here before we go and talk to your top 3. And actually, we had a lot of things happen here, so we'll back this up. Just want to show you one quick view of that wreck out back that collected quite a few of them here. Let's see how it starts. In fact, we'll go to TV2 here. As they get into turn 3, somebody gets turned from the outside. It's John Guerra. And then as he gets down the track, he gets into the 77. Bubba Winningham gets involved, and it's just really a bunch of trucks with nowhere to go. A couple of big hits into the outside wall. More of them going to pile in as everybody's just trying to find a way to miss this one. And had a couple trucks almost go up and over, but then right as that happened, we had a little bit of maybe a miscue, if you will. I guess that's the word for it here for Vicente Guerrero. As watch this. The 14 jumping up here, I mean, this surprised the heck out of me. I was wondering if he got a push. I don't think he does. But watch for Vicente Guerrero here. He's going to make a move to the top of the racetrack. He kind of goes to the middle and just gets himself split. Again, I'm not sure what Vicente was trying to do right there. I mean, I think he's got this win in the bag, or at least a drag race, if nothing else, if he just stays on the bottom here. But he tries to jump up, I guess, to throw a block, and man, it just doesn't work out for him. Instead, he ends up getting kind of wrecked there as he was trying to go back up for a side draft while Crosby was pushing here. And I mean, Vicente, one of the veterans of the league, that's not a mistake you see often, but if for some reason he doesn't make the championship 4 now, he's going to be going back and looking at that move right there. Is he still had a good shot at a second or third place finish potentially, but then see he's trying to grab a side draft at the same time the 33 is pushing, and it doesn't work out. Vicente goes around, and then I tell you what, if this was Talladega, Jeff Crosby Jr. may have had a shot at that at the line, but instead it's Adam Kilday who gets a win. All right, so we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. All right, we're going to go ahead and start things off tonight with your race winner, Adam Kilday. Adam, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, how's it going, Austin?
Good. Well, first off, you got the win, and you've locked yourself into the championship 4. First off, how does it feel?
I feel like I get to redeem myself after what took place last season. Just more so an unfortunate scenario at the end. Is just trying to put me and my teammates in a good spot for a decent finish at the end, and we kind of just got sucked up into some sort of calamity at lap 68. But super unfortunate that happened. But yeah, I mean, it turned into a fun little drag race to the finish with Vince Vicente there at the end, and just got a little. There was some door rubbing and some contact and stuff took place, and yeah, we managed to squeeze it out up top just barely, and drag raced it to the line with the junior at the end, and yes, overall came out with the W. So yeah, fun race overall.
Yeah, and a fun one to watch, especially on the last lap. And I mean, from our point of view, it was certainly surprising appearance. So I'm kind of curious from your point of view, were you expecting to see the 14 jump up, and how were you able to react quick enough to jump to his outside?
Yeah, it's after watching like a bunch of replays, it's more so likely the bottom car is going to jump up there at 08. So I kind of anticipating it. I knew I had Jeff Jr. behind me, so I knew he would go with me there if I floated it all the way up to the third lane. But yeah, it was worked out, that little game plan there, and it was all up to Junior there. My race was in his hands at that point, and he managed to get it done. So it's a huge shout out to him. So yeah, wins on him just as much as it is on me. So thanks, Junior.
Well, now that you got that win and you got yourself locked in, it's time for you to go get ready and go celebrate. But before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'll shout out the team again. Anthony English, Jimmy Reynolds, Rick Sanchez. Shout out to those guys at Vendetta Motorsports. Shout out to OP League for putting this stuff on once again. Super awesome on what they do. And yeah, we'll shout out to PGR eSports for broadcasting this stuff on YouTube, man. So appreciative of that, dude. So heck yeah.
And thank you for talking to us again. Adam, congrats on the win here tonight, and we will see you next week.
Awesome, man. See you later.
All right, now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here on the night. Loses it by just 0.02 of a second. It's Jeff Crosby Jr. Jeff, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's up, man?
Well, you bring home a second place finish, a great run here tonight. You don't quite get yourself locked in, but a good points night. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your head that last lap. You were pushing on the outside. Next thing you know, you almost found a way to steal one there at the line.
Yeah, man. 500 more feet, I might have been able to do it. If it was Talladega, that's for sure. Yeah, in my mind, I was just sticking with Adam there, and I saw Vince go up there to block, and I just kind of stuck to my guns. And obviously, if they would have both messed up there, I would have done whatever I could to take advantage of that. But yeah, man, I was just sticking with Adam that whole entire green, white, checkered restart, and oh man, it was a little crazy. Got loose a little bit, and thankfully came across P2.
Well, we know only 4 drivers in total can advance to the next round. We've already got one locked in. And, since you had a good points night, how does this change the mindset next week, knowing it's the last race in the round? Do you try to play a little bit more conservative now, or do you feel like you still have to stay really aggressive?
Yeah, I think you still have to stay pretty aggressive. Go get as much stage points as you can. Those are free points right there. So I think I got 8th tonight in the stage, so that's 3 extra bonus points. So it's definitely going to help for next week, but I'm definitely going to try to stay as aggressive as I can, and man, hopefully I get another top 5 and move on to the round of 4.
Absolutely. Well, hey, before we let you head out here tonight, Jeff, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, man, want to appreciate you for doing this for Wednesdays. It's been fun looking back and hearing you talk about a race and just going over it. It's pretty cool. I want to give a shout out to OP and all the admins. Definitely want to give a shout out to my dad. He would have been racing tonight, but he's recovering. He's the strongest dude I know, so get well, Dad. And just anybody else that's been watching tonight.
And thank you for talking to us again, Jeff. Congrats on that second place finish, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, man. See you next weekend.
All right, now that will bring us to your third place finisher here on the night, Andy Brigante. Andy, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Austin. Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. Well, you bring home a third place finish, and we saw you kind of as one of the first guys to try to get up on that third lane on the last lap. Next thing you know, you finish it off with a podium. You might not be in the playoffs, but how good does it feel to get back on the podium here tonight?
Oh, it feels great. Haven't been here in a while. I was hoping to maybe get a little bit better finish. I thought I was going to have some push help up on the top, but something happened back there. I lost my pusher, and fortunately for me, there was something going on up front, and they got a little wiggly up there, and I was able to pull out a third somehow.
Well, we hear from a lot of drivers, and obviously we can see it on the broadcast, just how different Legacy Daytona is from normal Daytona with all the different bumps and the way it kind of wants to drive, especially through the corners. And so, tonight, especially as things come down to the end, can you kind of feel the aggression start to pick up, and do you have to make adjustments as the race goes on?
Oh, definitely. There's always adjustments, throughout the whole race. Of course, at the end is, it's the end of the race. Everyone's going to try to get the best finish they can. I had an issue today with my wheel settings. My car's running good on the low side with the wheel settings I had, but when I ran the high side, it was a little wiggly, out of control, kind of hard to keep straight. But I was a little worried about going high in the last lap there, but it worked out. Worked out pretty good.
Yes, it did. Well, hey, Andy, before we let you head out here tonight to celebrate a good finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Just thank my guys I'm in Discord with, thank my team on Monday, and thank my wife for letting me do this. And thank you guys for doing the broadcast, and, of course, the league for putting this on, letting us have some fun.
And thank you for talking to us again, Andy. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Austin. Good job.
All right, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Another great race as we continue to get closer and closer to the championship. Adam Kilday, the first driver to get himself locked in, if you will. We'll see next week who will be the next driver to get themselves locked in. And then, of course, who will be the other two to advance to the championship for. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.